Hi guys, and welcome to Nongwalk.
I have to admit that the experience that I got today, it was out of this world.
We want to create an environment whereby everybody has access to the power team. Everybody has access to quality information whereby it can help you.
Being obsessed about property, I feel like if people would know what we know about property, everyone would actually be obsessed about property investing. So I invite you personally to our next event to actually come through and see what we have for you.
As a first-time property investor or beginner, what is important?
I mean, if I had these first tips before I actually started my property investing journey, I think I would have actually been further. So without any further ado, let's start on the first one. The first one is location. So now when you're speaking about location, we often hear people saying location, location, location. In fact, they also say that you need to start investing in your area. So now what happens if a deal doesn't actually come through in your area? Because I know for me, it really takes a lot for me to get a deal. Even if I'm not even looking at the area around me and I'm looking at driving 1 hour away from me, it still takes me time to actually get that deal. Is this a myth or a fact that you should actually get a property near you?
It goes without saying, though, as a first-time property buyer, or even a beginner, most likely you want a property deal the next street from you or 2 streets away. Whereas if you're looking at the practicality of that, is that really true? Because what really matters to me is that if I could get a great deal that makes sense, looking at it from a return on investment and also the price, of course, 2 streets away from me, that would be a bonus. So now the question will be that if you do find a deal that's 1 hour away, will you let that deal go because it's far away from you? I think that's a question that I leave to you guys. Put there in the comment section that would you invest in a property that is an hour away from you?
I mean, Noah was even willing to fly an hour away from where he is to actually get that right deal that was actually on the market. So now really think about it from an entrepreneurial perspective, that if you do get a deal that is actually 1 hour away from you and you do actually consider those costs of you traveling to and from that property as your investment, and it still makes investment sense, is this something that you are willing to actually go into, or is this something that you are going to be staying away from? However, as a property investor, I know that I would actually be going for that deal. There are a lot of property investors that actually fly from Johannesburg to Cape Town or from Cape Town to Johannesburg in order to conclude a deal.
I mean, it's uncomfortable level. Just think about going to another province or going to another city, searching for a property deal. You don't know anybody in that area. So you're really comfortable with the area that you know and you're comfortable with that. It's just that with this one is that it's like a coin. It's got 2 sides to it. As much as it's uncomfortable, as much as you don't know people out there in that area where that deal is, you're looking at it from a return on investment perspective. Let's just say that you're looking at 15%. I wouldn't mind. And then there's a deal in my area that's going for about 5%. It's a no-brainer. Take me to that place where I don't know anybody and I'll come back knowing the whole street. Make it your home, man.
Most definitely. Now, number 2.
Number 2 is knowing your numbers. Just as we did talk about going outside of your comfort zone to get into a property that makes financial sense, it's very important that you actually know your numbers, because I've seen this so many times from emails, from people sending us deals and saying, guys, this is a good deal, I'd actually like you to invest in this, or if you do want to send it to your network, I'd really appreciate it. However, when we look at that deal, nothing makes sense. It's quite terrible. I mean, this is one of the questions that I asked you, Lev, with it. Whose responsibility is it to know the numbers when it comes to the property deal? Because let's say I'm proposing a deal to you whereby I'm telling you that you'll be making 2,000 cash flow positive. You as the investor not understanding anything, whose responsibility is it?
It's the responsibility of the person that will be signing the offer to purchase, that they are actually going to be taking this property. I think sometimes we end up blaming a lot of people, blaming estate agents, blaming the person that sold the property, saying that they're the ones that put you in a bad deal. However, you were the one that said to the bank that you will actually be taking responsibility for 20 years. Imagine taking responsibility for 20 years and you do not really understand what you're putting yourself into. So now this is something that I really want you to consider the next time you go into a deal, that is this something that I'm actually willing to go into on a 20-year agreement? And now, if you are actually willing to do that, do you understand the numbers behind it? So I know when I'm actually going into a property, I'm going to be getting at least 15% return on investment if I'm looking at a rental, and if I'm looking at a flip, I know that I'm looking at 20, sometimes I look at 25% on a property, because I already know my numbers. So by the time I sign the offer to purchase, I already know what I'm actually looking to.
Wait a minute, Lebo. It's all confusing. You're speaking about return on investment with rental, which is different from the flip. If I want to know more about this, how can I reach out to you, number one, and what do you guys offer to assist me? I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but it was coming, man.
Come on. So what we offer right now is that we are having an event on the 5th of March 2022 at the GLENVISTA Country Club, where we will actually be running numbers. We'll have estate agents that will actually be speaking about why do you need an estate agent on your team, and we'll also be having an accountant that will be speaking from an accountant perspective. If you do actually want to come through, it's just 250, man. It's just 250 to actually be with us on that particular day. That's the first thing that we're actually doing on the 5th of March. The second thing is that we have a one-on-one Zoom meeting. It's free. Let's sit down, have a chat in terms of how can we actually help you. If you do want to actually join us on Zoom, or you want to actually come to the event, the links are down on the description. Further details, you can inquire on info@nongwealth.co.za.
So, Lebo, I've got a question for you, right? You spoke about an accountant being there at your event. So, me as a beginner or first-time buyer, I want to understand, how does your financial management and accountant side to your property business affect your return on investment?
So now when you're looking at that particular point,
please just give us a brief about it. Don't go too depth, because the information will be shared at the event.
Of course. So now when you're looking at financial management and you're also looking at the return on investment on your property, we need to look at it from two different perspectives. So we'll have business expenses, whereby this is your accounting, this is your tax, this is your bank charges. I mean, we can't calculate bank charges on my return on investment for the property, right? Yeah. So we need to look at return on investment from the property side, and then we also need to look at how do we actually grow the business from the accountant and financial management side. So I think that this will actually be taken deeper by our accountant on the 5th of March. Make sure you get your ticket today.
I mean, it's clear that there's actually matrix towards this, especially when it comes to running your numbers, because we're always talking about never go into a deal that's cash flow negative, because if you are owning a property and you're not making money from it, you still need an accountant. So your situation doesn't get any better. So imagine running at a loss and then you still need an accountant who will be helping you file and assisting you in that process. So you really need that buffer, whereby you did mention that there are operational costs and there are also business costs towards this. I'm quite excited about it, because we'll be exploring more about this topic.
So now the last point that we actually have is that you need to fight for your deals. I don't mean that you need to physically fight with your tenants. Please do not actually fight with your tenants. Fight them legally.
Yeah.
So now what we mean by fight them legally is that sometimes you will be forced to go to court. And now this might mean that you'd need to actually take someone to court, or someone might need to take you to court. So whenever that actually happens, make sure that you have a good representative in terms of your lawyer, so that they can actually represent you in a manner whereby this is actually healthy. So now this is something that I'd like to give you, right?
Yeah.
So say for instance, right, I have recently bought a property and now there's a tap that's leaking. Is it worth it for me to actually take it to the lawyer and say that I want to sue them, or they must come back and fix it?
For me, time is money. So understanding how long that process will take, while I'm losing so much water and I'll be paying for all of that water, I'd rather fix it same day. And then I already know that going to my next deal, I'm going to negotiate. I will be bringing my contractor to make sure that whatever price that I'll be putting in, I knew that it's aligned with the defects. So ultimately, you need, whether you're going to fight at the beginning, fighting with price, or ultimately fighting through your lawyer, you need to actually choose one, man. And I think, Lebo, do you know what's the thing is that I don't know how or why. It's just that, as people, you go into an investment and you're not anticipating that things might go south. So You might even get scared that I don't want to go into property investing because I'm scared of tenants, or I feel young, so I don't know how I'm going to deal with the family. So it's very important what you said, that having that attorney, so that you can constantly talk with them in terms of when you do find yourself in trouble, you are able to resolve it in time.
Of course, I mean, it goes back to you having a power team, right? The reason why you actually have a power team is that you don't have to physically actually be there on that particular thing.
Yeah.
So now say for instance you hate negotiations. You extremely hate negotiations. What you could do is that you can form a relationship with one of your estate agents and then send them to actually put down an offer for you. Right? In that way, it will be a split between the estate agent that you actually sent and the estate agent that's actually selling that particular property. So now if you are afraid of saying that I want this property at this particular price, make sure that you get an estate agent that you're really comfortable with, that you can actually tell them that, you know what, I want this property at this price, and please do present the offer to the other estate agent.
No matter how comfortable you are, you must have went there to assess the damage, because once you sign on the dotted lines and then they were able to negotiate but not to a good price, at the end of the day, it's your deal. Speaking about your power team, our power team will be there at our event, man. So best be sure that you come through, because Ms. Patega will be there as the conveyancer, even though she's not speaking. Franz will be there as the contractor, even though he'll be not speaking. We've got an accountant who'll be there speaking the financial management side. We've got a property practitioner who is a principal of an estate agent company. It's going to be crazy. Trust me, it's a must that you book your seat today.
Of course. Nongal?
Signing out.